Hey, everybody, you're listening to the Wombo podcast. I'm Chip Muck. With me, as always, is the Mr. Gimpy.
What's going on, Chip? How's it been, brother?
What's happening, man? You been up to mischief, mayhem?
You know, a little bit of both, man. A little bit of both. You know, it's time of recording. It's St. Patrick's Day. I realized I panicked for a second, right? Because my household, we make a big deal about it since we have kids and stuff. So leprechauns visit our house. We try and trap them, and the leprechaun usually ends up screwing up our house, right? I woke up this morning in a panic because I didn't bring my summer clothes out, which I only have like summer. Like I used to work in a office, right? So I used to have like green shirts, green ties, all that. So I never had to worry about St. Patrick's Day, right?
Yeah.
I woke up this morning and like I have summer green stuff. None of my winter shit, which I mean Christmas stuff is green, right? But that's put away. So like none of like that in between is time where between like winter and summer, like the springtime, do I have anything green outside?
Can we
of this
just do a quick brief aside here?
Yeah.
Aside from all your craziness, you talking just reminded me of some crazy shit. So much like you have worked in an office, so I don't have like any civilian clothes. Yeah. So like yesterday, I ordered like some like nice blue jeans and just some shirts. Yeah. And then last night I had a dream that what are they called? Like somebody like helps you with your fashion.
Like a personal designer or personal stylist.
Yeah. I had a dream that I met with like a personal stylist, and they're giving me like a checklist of stuff. Yeah. And they're like, "You look like you could use like wear more green and purple," and I'm like, all right, yeah, thanks for
Joker.
I don't know. Apparently, yeah, my dream, dude.
All right.
Oh, yeah. So that was just like a weird aside. I don't know, maybe something about spring. You guys all thinking about new clothes, new wardrobe, pulling out stuff.
I mean, greens, purples are part of spring anyway, too. So
man,
you got the purple background going right now. I mean,
always, dude.
I get it.
Sorry, man. So you got nothing. You're looking for civilian clothes to wear. You're panicking.
Yeah. Because like if you're not wearing green, you either get like pinched, right? So so I'm like, okay. And my wife and I, we definitely follow that and just mess with each other, you know. So,
sure.
So I'm like, all right.
You're wearing the hat, the wild hat.
So I got the hat. So I like legit have like the bluest shirt of all time, and the wild hat.
You're trying to gaslight your family and be like, no, this is green. You guys are colorblind.
I could, but I am colorblind, so that could be a legit excuse for me.
Yeah,
but I know for a fact the wild have green, so that was it, man. But good times. My kids were on spring break this week, so I honestly, outside of work, I just spent time with them, so it was a good time. I will say, like, it's nice experiencing like the younger generation's gaming and how they approach things and all of that. A lot of Minecraft for my kids this week for spring break. They played outside and did stuff too, but mainly like the memory they'll take from it, because they have to do like a little like get together at school going, hey, what'd you do for spring break? Like they're not gonna say
a report or anything.
No, they're not to the point where they have to like write a report, but they'll just share. You know,
remember when you guys had to do that? Remember when they made us write reports about your spring break?
Yep, I do.
Dang.
And like both of them said we played Minecraft. It's like, all right. But beat the Ender Dragon, they beat the Wither or whatever. So like every Minecraft boss you could beat, they beat. So it was fun times.
Taking off time from work this week as well.
Yeah. What'd you end up
Maybe it was like a spring break. Maybe it was like some deep nothing, dude. I did absolutely nothing. Kind of like you and the kids.
Yeah.
Playing Minecraft. I just watched like these 90s special effects, like VHS tapes.
Sure.
That's something through on YouTube. It was like, I think it's called like Movie Magic.
Okay.
It's like a series.
Okay.
Yeah, I just watched a grip of those, dude. I finished up an audiobook. It wasn't good. I don't know. The writer got better at writing, but at the cost of the story, if that makes sense. So I read like a lot of web novels, and like it's usually like amateur writers. And so like I read his first series that he did, and I was like, oh, this is pretty decent. And then he had like a spin-off book based on that series, and I was like, all right, let me check this out. And I was like, this is way worse, but like he got way better at writing, but like way worse at telling a story, in my opinion. I don't like writers love like their prose and stuff, and they like get like deep into the flowery language. And maybe I also hate that about like when I write stuff too. I kind of fall into the same trap. I took a creative writing class once. I know the ebbs and flows of it or whatever, dude. Like you gotta have like a little texture to your words or whatever. I don't know, man.
Right. I think
so. Yeah, that was my my vacation, dude.
I think that's what helped me in like creative writing, right? Because not only did I do that as well, and I wrote a full book before, but
yeah.
I wanted to get into film and filmmaking and all that too, and like writing movies. But I realized I was more acting, and then I realized I was more comfortable in the director spot, right? So
yeah.
But I've tried each and everything. But
wait, hold on. Like if we're talking about ideas, real quick. So during this week, I did write down some of the ideas I had.
Okay.
And they're not good or anything, but like, so here's like some ideas I had. All right.
Okay.
It's all the right steps, but done wrong / the outcome is still awful. So it's like somebody like explained how to do something. They're like going through all the steps, but then like the final product's just kind of shit.
Yeah.
Let's see. I wrote down here, back in my day, we would have taken turns slapping the shit out of you.
All right.
So, do you have an ancient family artifact you're trying to avoid kingdom taxes on? Thalos can help with that. I wrote down focus testing group of only Asian people laughing. It makes everything seem more funny.
What the hell?
Yeah, because I think it was like one of those like movie magic videos I was watching. They're showing like the focus test group, and it was all Asian people, and I was like, man, they look like they really enjoyed that movie. But then I was like, why is it all Asian people though? It's like maybe like showed it in like Chinatown or something because it's LA or California.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like maybe like their Koreatown or like their Chinatown or something like. Like one of those theaters. But I was just like, that's so weird.
So
and I was like, also,
from it.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that's so those are all the notes I wrote down for like creative writing and ideas for the week. Those are my ideas, dude.
What I found in like writing a movie script is you keep the flowery language, like the descriptive to describe like the scene, to the point, because so you can translate it to film. So you don't go overly in depth. You don't have to have an encyclopedia to decipher what you're saying. You know what I mean? And that helps like keep the focus.
I've also heard like it depends on like your budget as well.
Oh, true.
Because it's like, hey man, just keep it as blank and as simple as possible, like day night. Like all the he's like, I've watched like an amateur film director like break down like a script. And he's like, I used to write scenes like this, mid-morning, like golden hour, the dusk is rising, like the sun's glaring in from like the right side of the screen, and like the two characters are like in this emotion. He goes, basically how I would write this now is like day scene. Like,
right,
because he's like, you don't know like
the cinematographer and all that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like there's like so many like variables. There's like locations, like where you end up with the director, like what availability of like actors and actresses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And speaking of that, just like getting into like game story design, right?
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have like what the world like you're creating looks like in your head, and maybe have a basic outline, but you're not gonna describe like everything in like your game story, right? You'll do it as you go. I feel
to quote the great John Carmack, he once said, "Story in video games is like story in porno. Sure, you expect it to be there, but it doesn't have to be any good."
I think that's famously one of the quotes that I disagree with from him. Actually, I agree that not every game needs story, but he's definitely a programmer. You know what I mean? So I think story helps color the world, no matter what you're doing, right? Like I know the story for Gradius, I know the story for R-Type. You know what I mean? Like they're shmups, right, and story really doesn't mean anything, or no one gives a shit about stories and shmups. But like the Vic Viper, the ship from Gradius, is so iconic that the adventures it's been on, I know the stories from Gradius, right? So sure. For me, it helps solidify my fandom. Which even in Doom with John Carmack, his creation, he said, "Hey, story in games is like story important, right?" I know the story for the original Doom, right? I know that the original Doom Slayer was trying to, was avenging his rabbit. You know what I mean? So
yeah, so you'd be like, I know the story for Debbie Does Dallas. Okay, so it's
I know the story for Deep Throat. I know the story for
highest grossing film of all time. Maybe the mob was involved. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
From like a level design perspective, like. Mm-hmm. Even story for that, like you're supposed to tell stories through like spaces
within the yes.
Yeah, like even like why this is there, like with the like things that are there should like serve a function of like a living space of like, oh, like somebody would have to work or do something here, or something happened here, or like so yeah, like some of the levels I've experimented with, like because I'm still doing the alphabet. I just did U yesterday.
Sure.
And I just did like a nice little U, and then I just added like a balcony around that because I was like, it's kind of a cool thing is like an upper lower level on that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but like I've done like levels where like I'll add glass and then like I build like a small room in there that like you're looking into, and there's like a computer and like a a mug in there.
Yeah.
And I put like a little bucket, so you're like, oh, maybe this is like a prisoner's area or something. I did that with like 4 or 5 simple primitives. And then like you're like looking through like a glass, but it also shows you like your goal and objective and like tells a little bit of a story.
What
in between.
A classic game series that I always point to for this exact point is Castlevania, right? Within the lore, Dracula's castle reconfigures itself all the time. Yeah. Hence different levels, right? But if you go into Castlevania looking at the backgrounds, looking at the diversity of the areas, you're still on Dracula's grounds. You're like a lot of times, and Konami is really good at doing this. Since each game is like hundreds of years later, etc. When you start off in the town before you go into Dracula's castle, it usually uses like very similar texturing, very similar like areas to get to Dracula's castle. So you can see like the entrances and stuff are always very familiar, but when you get to the castle, outside of like the front area, which is always kind of like the front room of the castle, everything else is just different after that. Which from Castlevania 1 till whatever the most recent one is, it's very, very to the point.
And I got to applaud that Castlevania anime at all?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I haven't watched Nocturne yet, which actually is Richter's story. Which my favorite Castlevania character is Simon. I'm a purist for sure, but you can't knock what Richter has done for the series and the fandom that he has behind him. So obviously he's the main reason for Symphony of the Night happening was him being possessed and controlled by it wasn't Dracula overall, it was like death, right? And then for Dracula. But obviously Rondo of Blood is still the best Castlevania game. I'd say arguably, but
I'm not sure if there's like a word for this, but also like I've noticed like we're talking about like a little bit of storytelling.
Yes.
When I look at like concept art or like photos or like images, like I'm not sure like what the word is for it, but there's like capturing like a moment of like something happening is like so hard to do.
Yes.
Like or convey. Like I've noticed it like in dioramas where like it's usually like the simplest thing and you're like it feels so obvious. You're like, oh, I should have thought of that.
Concept art should show the character's personality, right? Like if you're doing character concepts, concept art for locations should convey a mood.
Yeah, I think this is why like a lot of great art doesn't really get recognition, because if it's so when it's done really well and at a high level, dang, both has got a little sometimes when it's at like a high level, like it feels like obvious, if that makes sense. Where you're like, oh, I should have been able to paint that or draw that or express that, because it's so simple. Like I watched a diorama, and it was like a 3D sculpt that somebody was doing, and is a person like a building like collapsed, and like some lady handing a kid down from like this collapsed building into like this like over flooded city onto like a lifeboat, and then there's like zombies chasing from like the other side. I'm like, fuck, this dude told like a whole ass story with like this simple
one image.
One image, and I'm like, damn, how come I can't think that way as much? You know what I'm saying? Like it just feels so obvious. You're like, damn, that's so easy. You know, like
but what's easy in concept is harder in the see through or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of life experience, a lot of like taking your perspective or and conveying that in writing or drawing or in like a level or how. Again, just like a quick throwaway line of like Castlevania, the castle's alive and moving. You're like, oh, okay. It doesn't need much more exposition than that.
Sure.
But like the execution is key, and then like it feels like a living, breathing place where like you go out into like a graveyard in the middle of it, and you're like, oh shit, I fight some monster out here. This is not.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's huge. That's a huge part of storytelling. I just saw the second Dune movie in theaters yesterday.
The spice must flow,
and it was fantastic. And one of the things that the first movie did well that the second one does just as well, if not better, in spades, is the environmental storytelling. You could freeze frame almost every scene in that movie and get the exact vibe from what's going on. So, I think other games do that very well. The second reboot of Tomb Raider, was it like the Shadow of the Tomb Raider and all that? Those, especially the first two games, set the mood very well with the environment, I'd say. Like, I'm not a Tomb Raider purist. I'm happy, like where rumor has it, Laura's going back to kind of her roots. She has her old outfit
Laura
back.
Croft?
She's doing true Tomb Raider. She's not, Splinter Celling around and fucking just stabbing the shit out of people. So, apparently they're going back to the roots. But with the style that game was going for, the like brutal, realistic style, the true survivability, I thought that each environment and the way the enemies were conveyed, the way the damage and dirt and grime that like Laura accumulates throughout the game, did a great job. So whatever screenshot you took, you know exactly what the vibe was in that game.
Yeah.
So to the game designers out there, I think the kind of the takeaway here is pay attention to like your tone, right? Just in each aspect,
Tone,
even
mood,
if you're not telling
elements of storytelling,
you are. I think there's always that. Like even the worst games can tell a story. Like there's been bad games that I've played that I've enjoyed for the mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's.
And I think also like we're talking more towards like indie developers and stuff, is like
yes,
stories like huge. Like you can forgive a lot of like bad graphics if there's like a compelling story behind it. Like I said, I'll listen to like a lot of like.
I think both actually. If your gameplay's great,
novels,
you don't need a great story with great gameplay. But if your gameplay's bad,
ideally they're both amazing. Like
ideally, but
ideally you have great gameplay and a great story. But it's a whole other skill set. Like it's the reason why there's like writers and stuff out there. So don't be afraid to like do like a sanity check with people like about your stories and stuff, and be like, hey man, what do you think of this? Like. Nobody's gonna steal your damn story, dude. Like, I got this great idea. There's no such thing as an idea person, dude. Like, I'll throw out ideas all the time with people, and it's usually like trusted like friends and family though. Like, I don't go like asking strangers. I wouldn't start throwing stuff online or anything like that. But it doesn't hurt to get like a second opinion or like somebody else to look at it. Or I think like Fiverr and stuff has like services for like people like edit your shit.
I'd say. Like even the game I'm working on now that I didn't get a chance to work on, there's a story behind it. Will I tell it through the game? I'm not gonna. There's not gonna be any cutscenes or anything like that. But environments there will be, the character's expressions, the power ups you get, and there'll be clear kind of a good versus evil kind of a thing as well. But it's not like a dark tone. There's definitely like a Saturday morning like cartoon villainy vibe to my enemy types. So I think so you can tell exactly who's who. But like there's definitely like my overview. There's a story, but will it be included in the game? Probably not. I'm going to tell it through gameplay. Yeah, and I think a lot of your games too, like even your high concept unicycle game that you had.
Man.
Your character had.
It's not a game, bro. It's a vibe.
Yeah. It was just pure vibe, and the main character kind of set what the vibe was about. So
man. Tells like a whole story about, I don't know, it's about an experience. And like every time I play that game, in air quotes, it takes me like 20 minutes to be like, the first 20 I'm like, man, this is stupid, man, this is lame. And then like after about 20 minutes I'm like, man, it's pretty chill. Like it's just something about just vibing, and it'll bring a smile to my face just playing that. There's I don't know, it's about capturing like a feel of like just being young and like bicycling around like a neighborhood like early in the morning when everyone else is asleep still.
Definitely.
Being out there living life.
I get it, man. I get it. And that's the point, right?
Man.
That's what it is. But yeah, man. Any just to kind of wrap up here, any big goals for yourself, or any updates on what you're working on?
I've still been just working on like a level a day from the alphabet. Like I said, I finished up U the other day. and then onward with that. Still working on that other bigger like beat 'em up project with the lads.
Yeah.
I made
any
like
big updates on that, or have you guys met or nothing yet? Okay.
No, just slow and steady. They fixed some more coding stuff. They finished like another like art piece for like a main bad guy. Steady as she goes. So again, it's like all of us just working like in our free time and stuff. So it's like there's like big sprints when people have time, and then a lot of nothing in between.
Yeah.
It's things are being made, things are happening. I was thinking about working on like the overworld map of things. I don't know if I'm going to get to that yet, but I think I only have like 2 more levels left to design, and like one of them I don't know if I have to, because it's like a slope that you just kind of like go down and say
escape
like
sequence
Battletoads,
Sure.
Kind of like a Battletoad style escape sequence, and I'm like, I don't know how much of that I need to actually design, if that's all going to be programmatically, it's just like a moving background, and like you're like on a thing and fighting things as they pop up on you, so it's like
gotcha.
And then the last thing's
the
like
gameplay style that you told me, she showed me actually.
The last thing is like the big boss too, and like I just have to design like the fight arena, I think, for that. Like there isn't going to be much to that. I don't think you have a stage to get to the boss, I think you just want to fight the boss. I think the stage to get to the boss is like that escape sequence into that fight sequence.
Works out.
All that stuff got written out.
Final question, just to kind of go with what we talked about today. Is there any game that you've played that comes to mind where you can look at the environment and get the mood, or one of your favorite examples of it?
Like a sense of like story or something from like the game.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. Someone get a lot of slack for us, but like Fallout 4, I think is really good at conveying some story. I know like it gets a lot of shit for like the time frame's not great, because it's like I think it's supposed to be like 500 years after nuclear apocalypse, but it looks like 50 years. Because like people like are still working stuff and like things from like the time before, where it's like I don't think you guys know how long 500 years is.
Just from still images, right? You can kind of get okay.
Yeah, there's like that. There's like Metro, Halo as well is like pretty good. I think it's a little bit harder to do with like sci-fi or like fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, if you take like a screenshot of like Skyrim, like it looks like a medieval like village or whatever, or medieval fantasy forest. Like so a lot of it blends together more. So it's like a little bit harder until you get into like the towns, and a lot of that's done with like character writing and like how you interact with like people more than like the level design. I mean, there's like some things like they're really good at like designing like the big bad evil guys like lair, like where the boss fights happen. Like those all feel like very distinct, and you could take like a shot of any of those and be like, damn, it's good.
I will I'll say so. To answer both of my questions here, as far as what I'm working on,
what are you
still the platformer, still working on that. When I have time for it, I need to get the boys together. We got to play the Halo maps soon, and it's been on me. It's been on me just with the kids and just being unavailable. I've tried to play games multiple times this week and just ended up either falling asleep or just being dead from parenting. And like even last night I tried to play games, and then crap was like, hey, anybody up? I'm like, I am, but so's my kid. So
dang.
Yeah, it's been rough, but excuses aside, I still like to play those. I'm excited to see what everyone thinks of it. Excited to work on the game more, but as far as like what still image gives me a sense of emotion and a sense of what the game is about. The very first game where I started thinking about this is Ico on the PS2. To this day, that the game is short, but that is one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in gaming.
Okay.
If you buy it, emulate it, I believe the game was re-released on like the PS4. Such an amazing game. I do think it holds up. Such a wonderful story told with just gameplay. Ico, man, that's the game. That's the game for this. But yeah, man, I think
Resident Evil 1 does a lot of really good environmental storytelling as well.
Very true.
Half-Life does an amazing job.
Half-Life's amazing at it. Both 1 and 2 are great at it. Yeah, definitely. All right, man.
So they're out there, and I think just starting to think more of like story wise, like about games is always good, man.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, that does it. So this has been the Wombo podcast. I'm Mr. Gimpy. That's
Chipmunk.
Like, share, subscribe. We out of here. Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Yeah, bit.